Mark Moran, the 35-year-old enforcer from Australia's infamous Moran crime family, had lived a life steeped in violence, power, and the kind of notoriety that made his name synonymous with the darker corners of Melbourne's underworld. His life was a series of calculated moves, each one designed to protect the Moran family's dominance in the city's criminal operations. But on the evening of June 15, 2000, as the sun dipped below the horizon and cast long shadows over the suburban streets of Aberfeldie, his reign would come to a violent end. The Moran family was a powerful crime syndicate, involved in everything from drug trafficking and money laundering to extortion and murder. Mark's father, Louis Moran, had long been the patriarch, controlling much of Melbourne's illicit dealings. Mark, the second son, was a skilled and ruthless enforcer, his reputation built on his ability to do whatever it took to protect the family's interests. He had been involved in countless violent incidents, some of which had made headlines, but there was something about him that always kept people guessing. On that fateful evening, Mark had just returned home to his comfortable Aberfeldie residence, a quiet, leafy neighborhood far removed from the chaos of his criminal dealings. It was a place where he could, for a moment, be a man and not a figurehead of violence. But peace was a fleeting luxury for men like Mark. He was standing outside his home, near the driveway, when the silence was shattered by the roar of an engine. A car screeched to a halt nearby, and in an instant, the world around him transformed from the stillness of suburbia to the raw brutality of street warfare. Before Mark could react, shots rang out, quick and precise. The air was filled with the sharp crack of gunfire, and Mark's body was thrown backward as bullets tore through it. He crumpled to the ground, blood pooling beneath him in a grim reminder of the danger that had always followed him. The car sped off just as quickly as it had arrived, leaving behind only the echo of its tires on the asphalt and the fading thump of Mark Moran's body hitting the earth. It was over as quickly as it had started. Neighbors who had witnessed the chaos would later describe the scene as surreal. One would say that it all happened in the blink of an eye, a split second that had forever altered the fabric of their quiet street. By the time the paramedics arrived, it was too late. Mark Moran was dead, his life extinguished in the violent manner that had followed him for years. The murder sent shockwaves through the underworld of Melbourne. Mark was not just any gangster, he was a key figure in one of the most powerful families in the city. His death marked the beginning of a bloodier chapter in the Moran crime family's tumultuous history. Speculation ran rampant in the wake of his murder. Some whispered that it was the result of a turf war, a retaliation for past sins, or a betrayal from within his own ranks. Mark had always been a man surrounded by enemies, rivals within the criminal world, law enforcement breathing down his neck, and even those closest to him who saw him as a threat to their own ambitions. His reputation as a ruthless enforcer was well known, and it made him just as many enemies as allies. Others speculated that the hit was part of a broader power struggle within the Melbourne underworld, one that had been simmering for years. Mark's father, Louis, had been a key figure in the family's operations, and with his son now gone, the question was who would step into the void. The Moran family, like any other crime syndicate, thrived on a delicate balance of power, and Mark's death upset that balance in ways that would soon lead to even more bloodshed. For those in law enforcement, Mark Moran's murder was just another in a long line of gang-related killings that seemed to define Melbourne's criminal landscape. The police had long been chasing the Moran family, trying to infiltrate their operations and gather enough evidence to bring them down. But the Morans were elusive, and Mark's death was just another reminder of how dangerous the world of organized crime could be. In the years that followed, the murder of Mark Moran remained a mystery, with few leads and no answers. His death was just another chapter in the long saga of Melbourne's criminal underworld, one where allegiances shifted like the tides, and the threat of violence loomed over everyone. The family, now without one of its most feared enforcers, began to fracture, with different factions vying for control. The power vacuum left by Mark's death would lead to more violence, more killings, and more betrayals as the remaining members of the Moran crime family fought to maintain their hold on the underworld. Mark Moran's death was never fully avenged. It remained a cold case, a symbol of the brutal reality that in the world of organized crime, no one, no matter how powerful, was immune to the inevitable.